Hey, this is Dre at Tattoo Squid Podcast, and you're listening to your next favorite movie podcast with Josh G.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
There's no crying in baseball!
I ate his liver with some fava beans and nice caliente.
That was totally wicked!
If I can change, and you can change, everybody can change!
And welcome to another episode of Your Next Favorite Movie. I'm your host, Josh G. And today I am joined by blogger / podcast host / teen correspondent for Fangoria, which is pretty cool. Please welcome Gory Cory to the show.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So obviously you have a lot that you're doing. So why don't you just take a few minutes to talk about it all?
Yeah, so my blog, gorycory.com, I talk about horror movies and the social impact of them, a lot of the societal messaging through a lot of subgenres and that kind of thing. And then I co-host a podcast with my friend Lena called The Scream Teens, and we talk about sort of our experiences as Gen Z with horror and with the different genres of it, subgenres. And as a correspondent for Fangoria, I interview people on their YouTube. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm just curious, how did you come to be a correspondent with Fangoria? Because that's pretty big link up there.
It was really cool. Originally I started messaging or like liking all of Phil Nobile's posts on Twitter, and like we would, go back and forth until we finally became mutuals. And he really helped promote my blog, which was really, really nice of him. And he just asked me to be a correspondent one day. So it was really cool.
Wow. So when did that start?
That started a couple months ago in November. I interviewed the cast of Freaky for, we did like a little panel for the release, and that was really amazing. It was so cool.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. So that was like after the whole big thing last summer went down then, and they were
Yes, it was.
Okay,
they were already under Tara's ownership when I became a correspondent. Tara is amazing, and she is just so sweet and so dedicated. She's just the coolest.
Okay. Awesome. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. And we're going back to a classic horror flick from Wes Craven back in 1996. And we're going to be talking about Scream.
Hello?
Do you like scary movies?
What's the point? They're all the same. Some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. It's insulting.
Someone is playing a deadly game.
The police are always off track. If they watch prom night, they'd save time.
Someone who's taken his love of scary movies one step too far.
You're not scared, are you?
Scream, rated R.
All right. So when did you first see this?
I first saw Scream in 8th grade. It was like summer of 8th grade. And I had originally watched the MTV series Scream, and I like loved it so much that I wanted to watch the original. And it just blew me away. It was like the greatest thing I'd ever seen.
It's blowing me away that you were in middle school when the Scream TV series came out.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, I feel old. Oh, I can't even remember when that was exactly, but it wasn't that long ago. I remember my wife watched it.
I think it was 2015, maybe. That sounds correct. It was the year Avengers: Age of Ultron came out. I remember that.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right for 2015. So yeah. I think you got that. All right. I mean, I was late to the party on Scream for some reason. I should have seen it in like 96 when it came out, but I didn't. I don't know why, but by the time I saw it, I was kind of blown away by it. So for anyone who hasn't seen it, tell everyone what Scream is about.
So Scream is about a high schooler named Sydney Prescott, and she's kind of going through this. She's trying to deal with her mother's death. Her mother was brutally murdered a year ago when the movie starts. And there's a local girl in her high school that gets violently murdered, which brings in this newscaster named Gail Weathers comes to town, and Gail Weathers and her have like a lot of beef because Gail Weathers basically said that Sydney was like a horrible liar and called her a bunch of names because there was a trial for her mother's murder, and the man that was convicted, Gail Weathers believes it was falsely accused, and Sydney believed that she saw him leave the house. So now Sydney has to wonder whether or not the killer is actually still out there and she was wrong about him and there's now an innocent man sitting in jail, or not, it's just a new killer. So she gets attacked by someone in her house in a ghost face mask, and a sling of murders ensue, and everyone seems to have some kind of a motive. So you have to try to figure out who the killer is.
All right. So tell us why it is you love Scream so much.
It's actually the movie that made me like want to make movies, because when I watched it, I was like, this is exactly what I want to make. So it's just like a perfect balance of horror and comedy and like the teen drama aspects. I loved it. And it's so fun to watch, and it's so smart because it totally understands itself and it knows exactly what it is. And I love how it just like picks out every trope of the genre and like literally presents it to the audiences.
And so I'm curious from your standpoint, because like when this comes out in 96, we haven't really seen anything what they call meta, this was like brand new in 96. I mean, Wes Craven had dabbled with it with New Nightmare. I don't know if you've seen New Nightmare or not, but he dabbled in the meta then. But Scream went full meta, and it kind of created a whole new subgenre, if you will.
Totally. Yeah. And I love that. I just think it's so funny and it's so genius, and it makes you appreciate the movie more because you can see how much Wes Craven and like truly appreciates horror and the entire genre itself with all the work that they put into it, all the little subtle things. Like it felt like a love letter to horror.
Absolutely. And it continues it through the sequels. Like, I mean,
absolutely. The sequels are so good, all of them too. Like none of them are bad.
Well, I mean, we don't go full detail anyway, so let's get into it. Which sequels do you like the most?
I, unpopular opinion, really like 3 the best. I love things that take place in Hollywood, and I think that approach was super cool because it like kind of went back to the film's theme with movie knowledge and like its roots and just making fun of movies. I thought that was perfect. And the fact that Harvey Weinstein produced it and they were able to kind of like bash him in it. I mean, not by name, but like They really did take on the Me Too movement before it was even a thing, which was fascinating.
Very true.
Yeah. And then the second sequel is what I like to call academic horror because it takes place at a college and it's super fun. I love it. Not to spoil, but the killer in that one, it was such a nice little like reference to Friday the 13th. I loved it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yep. You're absolutely right. I didn't even think about it in terms of that, but you're right.
That's at least how I interpreted it. Yeah.
No. Now that I'm thinking back on it, I think you're exactly right. That makes perfect sense. I just hadn't thought of it because I watched. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I watched Scream 2 and 3 for that. I didn't get to rewatch 4, so it's been a while since I've seen that one.
4 is amazing. I loved 4. It was such a nice like rebirth of the franchise, and Emma Roberts was insane in that movie. She was so good.
Okay, see, I remember enjoying it when it came out, but I'm mad I didn't get to watch it. I was watching 3 this morning, and it's like Parker Posey's having a ton of fun.
Parker Posey was so good.
Yeah, she was amazing.
The idea of having like them double casted was like so funny, like the real people and the actors. That was just so brilliant.
And with Courtney Cox's bangs, I preferred Parker Posey because those bangs were driving me nuts.
Those bangs were camp. Okay, they were something else. I don't know who approved those, but
I think Courtney Cox was big enough to where she didn't need approval at that point, and that was her look.
That was what she wanted.
I don't know. All right, so what do you hope to see with the Scream 5 coming? I guess it's next year at this point.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. There are a lot of things. I really hope this is something that everyone disagrees with me on. I don't think Stu died, and I want to see him come back. I love Matthew Lillard, and that's kind of the biggest reason. Like, I just think his character is the best, and he's got to come back. Or I kind of want to see like some kind of killer go back to the roots of like Stu and Billy and just sort of like be obsessed with them, because I think that would be super fun. Something that would be fun, but it would make me very upset, and it's kind of out of character, is to see one of the main 3 be the killer, like Dewey, Gale, or Sydney. I think that would be really cool. It's not going to happen, but I think it would be cool.
Yeah, I don't see them doing that either.
No.
But I agree. That would be fun. All right, so we're going to erase all those sequels. Mm-hmm. And what would you have done if you got to make your own sequel back in? Well,
oh my God.
Yeah, I was going to say back in the 90s, like you existed, but of course you did not. But
yeah, that would have been interesting. I think I probably would have taken it to college too. but I don't think I would have done the same killer.
Right. I agree.
I
College was a
would've-
good choice.
College
to
was
go
a
to.
great choice. That was a really fun setting, I think, for it. And it's so isolated that it's perfect. I probably would have brought back Stu. Just I love Stu's character, and I think he really makes the first one so much funnier. And I probably wouldn't have killed off Randy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. That's the good thing about my side. I don't really have to take these
Okay.
questions into account, but I really don't know what I would do. That's why I don't ever put myself in the spotlight.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right. So now we're getting into, they're doing part 5.
Mhm.
So not really going to do this, but if they were to remake this thing and like recast Sidney Prescott and recast Randy and Stu and Billy from the original, who do you think you'd go with?
Okay. So that was one of my biggest qualms with the original. And this is my big, like, I have a problem with this with all teen movies is whenever they cast people that aren't teens as teens, I understand why they do it, but it's just so annoying. And there's so many incredible teen actors that they should be casting. So for Sydney, I said Sadie Sink or Storm Reed, I think would be really interesting. Jaden Martell for Billy. He in Defending Jacob was so scary. And like I could totally see him being a murderer. It'd be so good. Kayla McLaughlin or Finn Wolfhard for Stu. I think they would both play it very differently, but I think it would be really interesting. Sky Jackson as Tatum. I think she would rock that. Benjamin Flores Jr. as Randy, I think would be really funny. And then I want to see Gemma Chan be Gail Weathers and either Matthew Lewis or Joel Fry as Dewey.
Okay. All right. You came prepared. I love it.
Yes, always.
I
think about this a lot.
Oh, well, I was going to say, it does sound like it was something you'd already thought about, too.
Yeah.
About the teen aspect, which I completely agree. Horror or any other teen movie, they always cast way too old.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's very harmful, actually, because a lot of teens, that's the only teen representation we get. So we have to assume that we have to look like that and we have to act like that. And it's like, no, these are 30-year-olds. Like, these are fully adult people.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right on that. Yeah. You need to be able to see yourself represented. So I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there you go. You could be the new Sidney Prescott. You're perfect age for it.
I would be so honored. That would be the greatest thing.
All right. This is what I want you to do. People aren't sold yet. I want you to sell this movie maybe to a non-genre fan. Maybe that'd be the hard sell. Why they should watch this.
I'd say it's like, this is what I say. It's the perfect starter into horror because it's not super scary, but it's really funny. And it like has this really nice balance of like all these different genres within it. So it's a really nice, it's just like a movie. Like it really does love movie making. And you can tell that when you watch it. And it is so smart in the way that it presents itself. And it does not take itself seriously. It just kind of makes fun of itself. And that's the whole fun of it.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder, though, if you're not a genre, which I know I put it out there, but if you're not, you're not getting all the tropes, you know what I mean? You're not gonna be in on the joke as much anyway. I still think you'd enjoy it though.
Yeah, that's like I watched it with my parents. They didn't understand as much of it so I was explaining a lot of it to them, but they still really liked it. They just didn't get the full in-depth understanding.
Okay, so this is something I probably should ask at the beginning, but I'm gonna ask now. When did you get into horror?
So when I was little, I really loved like cryptids and Scooby-Doo and like different kind of like, I was really obsessed with like the Legend of Sleepy Hollow and like any kind of historical legends or like mysteries I really like. And I, of course, was obsessed with urban legends like Bloody Mary and that kind of thing. And then and my mom was very obsessed with Halloween. So we would deck our house out for Halloween all the time. And she would take me to like Halloween conventions and stuff.
Oh, nice.
But it wasn't until I watched the Scream TV series on MTV in 8th grade that I was really like, this is what I want to do. Like, I really want to make horror movies. And I was able to, because Scream and its TV series, they take so many tropes and they like flip them on their heads. It really is, I feel like, a good education in horror, because it really just shows you all these different things. And then once I watched the Scream TV series, it references a bunch of other horror movies. So I went back and watched all of those.
Okay, so out of my curiosity, besides Scream, which ones did you really like when you went back and watched them?
Oh my gosh. Friday the 13th, I loved. Halloween, I love. Nightmare on Elm Street, I love. The Shining, I originally watched it and I was like, this is not scary. This is so stupid. But then I rewatched it and like I watched the documentary on it, Room 237. And now it's like one of my all-time favorites. And after that, I just started watching as much horror as I could find.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, throw us out some hidden gems just for fun. What would you, I mean, you do a podcast, you're talking about all kinds of stuff for the mainstream audience.
Hidden gems is in movies or?
Yeah. Hidden gems,
okay.
horror wise.
I'd say Starry Eyes, Sugar Hill, the amusement park that was just released. Incredible. It's one of George Romero's works and it's just.
Oh, yeah. I watched that the other day. I watched that last week.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sound was kind of driving me insane, give me a headache, but
Yeah. I would say, Daniel Isn't Real is one of my all-time favorite movies. I recommend it to everyone. Daniel Isn't Real. It's just incredible. And it was Adam Egypt Mortimer. It was only his second movie, but it was just insane. Anything by Spectre Vision I like pretty much. So any Spectre Vision movie. Cooties is super underrated, and Becky, same directors, they're incredible. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Well, I gotta ask you this about Daniel Isn't Real. Have you watched Drop Dead Fred?
No, it's been on my list for ages.
Yeah, well, when you do, just rewatch Daniel Isn't Real right after. It's like the perfect double.
Perfect. I watched Jacob's Ladder with it, and it was a really good double too.
I didn't think about doing that one, but Drop Dead Fred, perfect double with Daniel Isn't Real.
I'll do that.
All right, I think that's going to wrap this one up. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you, find your stuff?
Okay, so I'm gorycory.com is my blog. And then at Gory Cory Horror on Twitter. I'm on Twitter 24/7, literally all the time. At _Gory Cory _ on Instagram. And my podcast is The Scream Teens, and it's on anatomyofascream.com. And then you can find any of the panels that I did for Fangoria on their YouTube channel.
YouTube channel. All right. Sounds good. As always, you can follow the show at ynfmoviepod on Twitter and Instagram, available wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to come back next week as I'll have a new movie and a new guest. And who knows, that might become your next favorite movie. You guys take care. I'll talk to you next time.